Well, hello. This has been quite a production. Getting all this edited, getting it up here, getting the turbos replaced in this thing. It's just been a while, and the last couple weeks in particular, having all this footage sitting around has really been bothering me. So I decided that I would finally throw it together and make this episode. This is being filmed on, what is today, the 28th of October 2022. So yeah, it has been a while because this was done in June, mid-June, late June of 2022, and I just got busy and didn't feel like doing anything, doing anything as it concerns the editing and whatnot, which is why it's taken so long to get this up. But it's here now, and you're on the tail end of it. So if you made it this far, congratulations. There's a lot to go over, and I mean quite a bit. Now, because I'm somewhat smart, I wrote it down. So the first question that you guys probably have is, how does this thing run? Does it work? Did the turbos fix the problem? What's going on? How's it been doing? The turbos did fix the problem we were having. And we'll go into that in a little more detail here later on in the video. But the turbos did fix the problem that we were having. And there have been some improvements in the way the pickup is run since we got the turbos in. Not so much on the fuel economy side, mostly on the noise side. They are a lot quieter than they were. Those others, they'd always been really loud. You could always hear them. Turns out that's because they weren't put back together right. We'll get into that later in the video too, assuming I remember. But the turbos are a lot quieter. Fuel economy has gone up a little bit, but that usually just depends on how much this thing's idled. So after we got everything back together, took it for a test drive, everything ran fine, plenty of power, everything worked great. And then a week after we got everything back together, the transfer case split in half. If you've ever seen a transfer case, the part that sticks out that the forward drive shaft attaches to, it's like somebody just shoved it backwards and they cracked the whole thing. It's completely foobarred. And so we had to get another transfer case and put on. So this thing sat for 2 weeks not being run because we were waiting on the transfer case. And then we also put the steering box on this. And we knew the steering box was going to have to be done. So we did that after we got done with the transfer case. So yeah, we got this put back together. Didn't even get 100 miles on it. A week later, the transfer case breaks. And so we wait 2 weeks on the transfer case. We put all that back together. New steering box. Have it aligned. And then a month after we get the turbos done, almost, is what it seemed like, this is able to be driven. And Dad does stuff here on the farm, but he's also got another job that he does, and he drives all over the place, and he usually takes this. And so we get a good indicator that way of how well this thing's going to do. So for about 3-4 weeks, I'm going to say 4 weeks, I'm really going to pat myself on the back here on a job well done and say for 4 weeks this thing ran flawlessly. No problems, not really any abnormal oil consumption. Started up, ran fine, get up to 20 miles a gallon, and then it starts having new problems, but they're not related to the turbocharger. So before we go into the new problems, what else did I have written down here? Now let's just go into the current problems. So the current problems that we're having is that sometimes when this thing runs, it will skip or lope or run rough, and it'll pour smoke out the tailpipe. And we don't know why. You might think, okay, well, is it an injector? Is it a valve? Is it a piston? Is it rings? Is it electronic? What is it? You're probably asking those questions yourself right now, trying to figure out what the problem might be. Pardon me. I don't know. I've done all the things. We've tested it thoroughly. We've analyzed it thoroughly. We've got kind of a high-end, I'm not going to say it's professional because it's not quite professional, but it's a pretty high-end scanner that we bought. and I put on this. And when we went to haul grain about a month ago to plant the winter pasture, you know, that's a pretty significant load, and that grain trailer pulls hard. And we use this. I plugged the thing in. I watched it the whole way we were coming back. About a 100-mile trip, okay? Engine runs flawlessly, makes all the power. It's got good fuel pressure, no skips, no misfires, no nothing. Runs perfect. Nothing's wrong. Doesn't throw any codes. But that morning when we were hooking the trailer on, man, this thing sounded like a 6-liter. I mean, it was just rough sounding and just coughing and just belching smoke like nobody's business. Sorry, the cat's moving over there. I thought it was a cow that got out. But the point is, this thing ran fine with a load on it. And if you drive this at highway speeds, runs fine. Just occasional puff of smoke out the tailpipe, and, you know, it does fine otherwise. So we don't know what's wrong with it. We've done all the tests and stuff that we possibly can think to do, and at this point, we're just going to, at some point, we'll get an injector ordered, and I'll put a new injector in number 7 cylinder, because that's the one that's causing the problem, and hopefully that will fix it. Otherwise, I don't know. It's got a new fuel injection harness. Nothing's wrong in there that I can tell. I've had the valve cover off and stuff and looking, and, well, outside of some sludge, nothing's really wrong. I don't know. So that's a problem we're having now. But it's nothing turbocharger related. The turbos are fine. Everything's good. The smoke that this thing is belching out, it either smells like fuel or it smells like just, you know, it's regular exhaust because it's cold outside or whatever. So I don't really know. But the turbos are good, so everything was done correctly there. We've never had any problems with them since we got them in. And this thing has had about, let me think, we replaced the turbos at 263,000 miles, approximately, and it has 277,000 on it now. So it's gone almost 15,000 miles, and the turbos have not given us any trouble. So, I don't know. Those are the current problems we've been having. Part of the reason it took so long for me to get everything put together and uploaded is that I wanted this to run extensively, at least 10,000 miles, to make sure that the job was done correctly. And I can say with confidence that it was, even though now we're having other problems. I don't think that was caused by the replacement of the turbocharger. I don't think it was because of anything we did during that process. I think it's just that the engine was not that well designed. That's just the nature of it. The fact that it's got so many miles on it and that it is now showing its shortcomings. There's a condition I have for it, but I'd have to explain why I call it that condition and all that. And I'm not going to get into that right now. This video is probably going to be 20 minutes long, if not longer, by the time I get done. I don't need to waste more time. So yeah, let's see. Runs fine. Why did I take so long? We went over that. What else broke on it? We went over that. Current problems, we've gone over that. Why did the turbos fail? The old turbos? That's a good question that I should probably answer. I want to think how much detail I want to go into to explain this. Tell you what, I'm going to keep this real simple, and I'm just going to say the original turbos that were in this, the previous set of turbos, the old ones that were in this, they failed as near as I can figure and as near as Dad can figure. We have surmised they failed because the last guy to do turbocharger work on this did not do what he should have done. He did something weird. And he charged us a pretty penny to do it, too. And this thing never sounded right when we got it back from him. There's a whole story surrounding why this had to have turbocharger work once, and then we did the second round, which was, you know, what's in there now. There's a whole story surrounding the first round of turbocharger work. And if you guys are really interested in that, leave a comment, and I'll make a video, because, you know, I take requests. For now, I mean, this channel might get big in the future. It might not. But for now, since we're kind of a small channel, I'll take requests. So if anybody really cares about all the details surrounding it, I'll make a separate video. Because that's like a 10-minute story. I'm really bad about going off on tangents. I'm not going to get into it now. So, yeah, suffice it to say, the old turbos went bad because the last guy to work on it did not do it correctly. And we didn't know any better because I was too young to know better, and Dad really didn't think much of it because he's like, well, I don't freaking know. So now that we're both more educated on the subject, we realize that the last guy in there, he did not do what he should have done. Instead of replacing the turbos, we have surmised that he just rebuilt one turbo, because there's two turbos on this, remember. So he rebuilt the one that was bad rather than replacing both. We replaced both. So that's why the old ones failed in a nutshell. You remember, if you guys watched part one, I reached in there and I was able to move that turbine back and forth a good, maybe not a quarter inch. I think I said I could move it a quarter inch. I don't know that it was quite that much. It was at least an eighth inch, and you're not supposed to be able to move it really at all. Plus the fact that the thing was consuming oil like it was going out of style, that was a pretty good indicator. As good an indicator as you need that turbochargers were not good. They were going bad. So that happened. What else? What else did I write down here that needs to be mentioned? Oh, yeah. So, what have I learned through this whole process? Let's go over that. What have I learned? Well, I've learned two things. The biggest thing I've learned is that replacing components, major components like that, is not... Let me put it this way. I used to think that when you're doing serious engine work like that, you need to have an absolutely 100% super clean, sterile environment. Like, it needs to be as clean as a hospital, to do that kind of engine work, because stuff is so sensitive. And like, if you get, if there's ambient dust in the air and you get that on some of these components, it'll just ruin them instantly. I used to think that, okay? And I can say with 100% confidence that I don't believe that shit anymore. Because if I can put a set of turbochargers on this in the middle of summer, like 100 yards from a freaking dirt road, in the wind with the bugs and the leaves and all the trash that's in the air, if I can do that and essentially just cover stuff at the end of the day and just blast it off with compressed air, if I can replace a serious component like a turbocharger in those conditions, I'm not worried about the rest of it. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to go I'm not going to go in and work on a fuel system and, just like smear dirt all over it just for the heck of it. I mean, there is some cleanliness that has to be observed, which in my view, now that I've changed my thinking, my view now is just don't throw it in the dirt, and if you do, spray it off with some brake cleaner and it'll be fine. That's essentially my attitude towards working on stuff now, because one of the videos I have on the channel here is about me telling people, oh, don't do the fuel sensor replacement, take it to a mechanic, because good grief, it's just such a pain to get to, and it is a pain to get to. But the attitude I had then was, oh my gosh, this is so delicate, I've got to be so careful. If I get a leaf in here and I don't get every little speck out, it's going to ruin the engine. And that's not what happened at all. And this is one of the touchiest engines on the freaking planet, okay? So if this damn thing can survive working underneath a shade tree, really opening this thing up, again, I'm not going to throw dirt in there just to see what happens. I'm going to keep it somewhat clean. But spick and span and, sterile environment like a hospital, no, that does not need to happen. Maybe when you're rebuilding one of these new engines because the tolerances are so freaking tight, I don't know. But even then, like if this shop, which is right here, you guys can't see it, but if the shop here was a little bit better insulated and sealed up and the doors shut, I mean, not much better than it is currently, I would be fine rebuilding an engine in there. If I had the tools and the workbenches and stuff to do it, I don't think it'd be that big a deal. And look, the big door on the shop faces south, so if the wind came up, all the dirt would blow in there. If the wind came up at all, which it's Kansas, so it will, it'd get some dirt in there. But I wouldn't worry about it at this point, because my attitude's changed. Because this stuff, it's not as sensitive as I thought it was. Now, again, and I can't stress this enough, like with a fuel injector, I'm not going to go swirl it around in some dirt and then just, spray it and be, all right, that's fine, I'll just put it back in there and everything will be good. I'm not going to do that. but I'm not a nervous Nelly when it comes to working on this stuff anymore, because it's just what I thought would happen, what I was worried about, did not come to pass. And so I have now learned that those concerns are unfounded. Also, since the mechanic we were going to take this to wouldn't call us back, we were kind of forced to do this project. So it was a little bit of necessity. It was a lot of necessity that dictated who was going to do this and how it was going to be done. Because I'm going to be honest with you, if that guy had called us back, we would have taken it over to him, and he would have charged us several $1,000s to do the work that I essentially did for, what I get paid to be here, which is pretty significant, but a lot cheaper than what that mechanic would charge, because my labor's cheap. It really is. So that was a big learning experience for me. And I feel bad that one video I made, it's short, it's only like 2.5 minutes. It's got over 1,000 views. It's like the third most viewed video on the channel. And I'm kind of disgusted because I don't want to mislead people like that. But I'm not going to take it down because I don't want it to seem like I'm trying to hide something. I want people to be able to see my progression and attitude and philosophy towards these things. Because, character development's important, or something to that effect. So that was the first thing I learned. The second thing I learned was with the video and the editing and stuff, I've changed my attitude on that, and my style and how I do it is a little bit different now. The way the first two parts are is the way they need to be. There's just too much information in there that to me is too important. I really didn't want to cut it all out, shorten it, and condense it and try and make it work that way. It would have been a lot more awkward than it is currently. So yeah, learned a lot with the video editing thing, which is important. And, like I said, character development, that's important. So yeah, lot of big developments, a lot of big changes, a lot of stuff happened. This should not have taken as long as it did, because here I am right at the tail end of October, beginning of November, and I'm just now getting to this. So the procrastination thing needs some work. That's on me. I've always been a procrastinator on stuff like that. If it starts to feel like schoolwork, it gets put on the most back burner imaginable. So, again, I apologize for this taking so long and all that. Now, let's see if there's anything else here. There's really not much else that I can think to mention in this video. If there's anything else that's important, I'll do an addendum, because I can. What I've gone over pretty much covers all of the major things that need to be covered. So assuming the audio on this is any good, I'm just going to leave it like it is and upload it, and it'll be good. And hopefully that'll explain everything to you guys. You probably got some questions, like, oh, why don't you just get rid of this? Or, what are you going to do with it? Stuff like that. And if enough people ask, which really it only takes one, because again, I take requests right now. But if you guys really want to know all that, you can ask in a comment, and I'll make a video. Don't know when that'll be, but I'll make a video. And I'm not going to get into it right now, because that's another 15 to 20 minutes that it's going to take for me to explain all that, because I like to get into all the details and really cover all my bases, just so everybody gets a real clear picture painted as far as that goes. The only other thing I did write this down. I will tell you guys this. When you're putting oil in this, because you might think, well, what kind of oil should I put in this, so that my components don't fail? Put the T4, the Shell T4, Shell Rotella. That's the 1540 heavy-duty diesel engine oil. Put that in. Don't put anything else in. Just put a heavy-duty 1540. Doesn't matter if it's synthetic blend or full synthetic or whatever. I'd go with the synthetic blend at most. But just change your oil every 5,000 miles. I mean, that's all we've ever done with this truck, is change the oil every 5,000 miles. I don't think we've put anything else except Shell T4 in this, and that's mainly because it's the cheapest oil that you can get your hands on. We tried putting Shell T6, which is a 540 full synthetic. It just leaked all over the freaking front end. It was a mess. It likes that 1540 stuff. Don't put anything lighter in. I don't know that I put anything heavier in, but don't put anything lighter in. I know people are touchy with their oil and stuff. I'm not saying you have to get the Shell in particular, but get a 1540 diesel engine oil to put in these 6.4s. Don't put this lightweight crap in there. It's just going to leak it all out or burn it. It likes that heavy duty stuff. And that's all we've ever put in it, and it seems to like it, so that's what we're going to stick with. But I just thought I'd mention that since I wrote it down, because, yeah, I think that front end is thoroughly rust-proofed after all that oil leaked out all over it. It's not going to be rusting away anytime soon. So that's pretty much all I can think to mention. This video's, I don't know how long enough, too long. It'll fit in with the rest of the videos in this series. So I hope you guys made it this far. If you did, I really appreciate you watching and sticking with it. I know that kind of sucked and it was awkward and, real awkwardly put together, but that's the way she goes sometimes. I couldn't do much else with it, with the footage, than what I did. I had to force myself to get the camera out while I was working on this because I did not feel good, and I'm just coming out of a round of the fall allergies. That really gets me every year, so I'm just coming out of that now. So, we've gone full cycle almost. But I'm going to go ahead and cut the video here. I think you guys have suffered long enough. If you've watched this, bless your heart. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And I'll get back on here soon with some more interesting stuff. I got some good ideas. And if the weather will cooperate and if I feel up to it, I'll definitely film it and give you guys something a little more entertaining to watch than this freaking Powerstroke. So that's all I got for you guys. You take care, and I'll catch you later. Okay, so here I was about to put the camera away. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! It's Powerstroke Panther! Oh, he's so good! He's been catching so many rats lately. He just has. Keeping them out of the vehicles. Such a good cat. Anyway. Oh, he is. Oh, my goodness. Oh, he's a good kitty. Hey! Kitty. Oh, he's so good. He's so good. Oh, yes. You stop that. What's your problem? What's your deal, you crazy kitty? Oh, he's so good. What is your deal, you goofball? All right, no, I'm not going to keep messing with you. I have to do this before I forget. I remembered. I forgot to mention, I was about to go and, edit this and all that. I forgot to mention the problems we were having when the turbos were bad. Basically, they would get... Well, they were really loud. That was a big thing. It would smoke constantly, and it would smell like burning oil. It would consume a ton of oil because, well, the seals on the turbo were bad. It would... It wouldn't boost. Like, the turbo wouldn't kick in, and so the vehicle would not accelerate. It would make a weird noise, and the turbo would just lose all boost all of a sudden, like you lost one of the boots that connects the pipes or whatever for the turbo. It would lose power all of a sudden like one of those blew off, but they would all stay on there. So that would happen, and there's one other thing that it did, I think. Well, yeah, you wouldn't have any power. It was the big thing. You wouldn't have any power. It would smoke constantly. Why are you eating leaves? Why are you eating leaves, you fruit? Meow. Hey. Hey. Now, anyway, yeah, it would blow smoke. It wouldn't have any power. The turbos would be really loud, and on this they were always really loud because, like I said, the guy didn't put them back together right or whatever. But burn a bunch of oil, and those were the big things. And it would just smoke constantly for no reason and never ever stop. At least now, when it smokes, it'll quit. I mean, it'll smoke quite a bit and everything, but it smells like fuel now, and it'll stop. Sometimes after you do certain things, it'll go ahead and stop. But when the turbos were out, it smelled like burning oil. It would never stop smoking. It would smoke a ton. And then also we would be able to go underneath and look at the exhaust pipes and see oil dripping from the connections because it had just put so much oil through there. So that's why it's important. Just check the oil on these things constantly, like every other day minimum. Check the oil on these. It doesn't hurt. You know, if the least you can do to keep your vehicle running is pop the hood and pull the dipstick and look at it, I mean, come on, that's pretty easy maintenance right there. And then just maybe add a little bit. But yeah, that's those are the symptoms we were having when the turbos were going bad. And then the symptoms we're having now are not the same. It doesn't consume oil now. It doesn't smoke all the time. The smoke smells different. This has plenty of power, blah, 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 all that other stuff. Wow, would you look at that? An additional 4.5-minute segment, all because Powerstroke Panther showed up. He's a good cat. He has killed a bunch of rats over the past month, so I'm not going to complain too hard. Cat! Kevin! He's not listening. Anyway, those are the problems we had when the turbos were going out before. So do with that information what you wish. And I'm sorry I almost forgot to throw that in there. Yeah, that's it. Bye.